Good evening. I'm Toby Burrell. On behalf of the Swain County Athletic Hall of Fame, we welcome you to tonight's induction ceremony. Good evening. I'm Toby Burrell. On behalf of the Swain County Athletic Hall of Fame, we welcome you to tonight's induction ceremony. We've got 5 outstanding individuals who will be recognized tonight for their accomplishments at Swain County High School. The Swain County Athletic Hall of Fame will induct their 16th class this year. On September 3rd, 2004, the Hall of Fame opened its doors to the beautiful state-of-the-art Swain County Athletic Hall of Fame building. From 2002 until this year, the Hall of Fame has inducted 48 former athletes, along with 14 patrons and 13 teams, all of which represented Swain County with their best and then some. It is my pleasure to be able to introduce you to this year's induction class, the class of 2017. Robbie Brown was an outstanding football player who graduated in 1989. Brown was the captain of the 1988 North Carolina High School Athletic Association state champion football team. He was also the most valuable player in the state championship game. Brown finished his illustrious career with 3,109 rushing yards and a school record 60 touchdowns. He played collegiately at Western Carolina University and even had a short stint playing professionally with the Portland Arena Football League team. Steve Claxton was a 2-sport letterman at Swain High School, where he graduated in 1973. Claxton was an outstanding kicker, hitting a 42-yard field goal, which stood as a school record from 1973 until 2004. He played football collegiately at Western Carolina University under coaching legend Bob Waters. He was instrumental in helping administer this very Hall of Fame, including the construction of the Hall of Fame building. Cayla Crawley was an outstanding athlete who excelled in volleyball. Captain of the 2008 North Carolina High School Athletic Association state champion Lady Devil volleyball team. Crawley was also most valuable player of the state championship match. She was also named All-Western North Carolina Player of the Year in 2008. She continued her playing career first at Lenore-Ryan, then finishing her career at Western Carolina University.
And championship. Swain County.
The most valuable player of this championship is, by unanimous vote, number 23, Cayla Crawley.
Shellby Parker excelled in softball. Parker finished her career with an outstanding 61 wins in only 3 years to go along with 820 strikeouts. Both are school records at Swain. Parker pitched in 2 state championship series or Final Fours for the Lady Devils, including a thrilling 1-0 extra inning win over eventual state champion East Surrey that would give the Lady Devils their only Western Regional Championship in softball. Parker continued her softball career at Furman University.
But if she strikes out Jordan McNeely here, she will have passed Sarah Davis for the season record for strikeouts. She's tied with Sarah right now with 201 strikeouts on the year, and she just broke the record as she strikes out Jordan McNeely. And now Shellby Parker has 202 strikeouts on the year, and again, that just broke Sarah Davis's season record for most strikeouts in 1 year.
Cody White was a fantastic all-around athlete who excelled in football. White was the captain of the 2004 North Carolina High School Athletic Association State Championship football team, which also finished the season with a perfect 14-0 record. White was named the most valuable player in the 2004 State Championship game. He finished his career with 3,428 yards, which is second most in school history.
Fourth down on a yard at the Elkin 47-yard line. 2 backs behind Scotty McMahon now as he tosses to the left side. Cody has the first down and then some. Breaks into the secondary. Look out down the sideline. Cody White all the way in. Maroon Devil touchdown. That one coming from about 47 yards away. 47 yards unofficially by Cody White. And that is kind of a play that erases some bitter memories.
We've got an outstanding evening planned for you as we learn a lot more about these 5 very special inductees tonight. And now, let's go to Gary Ayers with tonight's induction ceremony. Take it away, Gary.
Oh, there are some like, are we on? Can you hear me? Yes. I got a big mouth, so if this doesn't work, we'll make do. But once again, welcome everybody to Swain County High School. If you haven't been here in a while, welcome back. If you've been here every day for a week, thank you for all you do for Swain County High School and Swain County Athletics. It was a lot of fun sitting there watching that video. It brings back a lot of memories, and to see the class that we have. You know, every year, and this is our 16th year, as Toby Burrell just mentioned a minute ago, every year when we walk out of here, I think, wow, what a great class. Where are we going to get some more great athletes like this? And then this year, what a group. I mean, what a group of people that we're going to be talking about here in just a minute, a whole lot more. Before we get started with our speeches and our recognitions here tonight, I want to give a big shout out to a very special gentleman. Mr. Bob Reed is out in California. And as you know, Bob Reed normally shows up here all the way from California just about every year. He is a huge Maroon Devil fan. He watches what's going on here. We're so glad that we can bring him video and audio live every Friday night, or most every Friday night. And Bob Reed is a huge fan. But today, in case you didn't know, Bob Reed is fighting cancer. He had a really important chemo treatment just today, as a matter of fact. So, Bob, a big shout out to you. We hope you're watching as we are broadcasting live. Thanks to Toby Burrell and Joe Holt with our video here tonight and the miracle of the internet. We hope Bob Reed is watching, and we hope he got really, really good news today from his doctors and the treatment. But talking about the great class we have, it really starts not only with the athlete, but as Brother Lloyd Brown will tell you in the scriptures, many are called, but few are chosen. Well, tonight we have a select few that have been chosen. And we can't say enough about the work that the Athletic Hall of Fame Board of Directors puts in making these selections. So if some of our board members are here, please stand when I call your name. I know everybody can't be here, but our Athletic Hall of Fame Board of Directors include Chairperson Tammy Burns, Vice Chair Bob Marr, Bob Thomas, the Secretary-Treasurer, who's up doing his usual PA duties at the junior varsity game up on the hill, Harry Birchfield, Coach Neil Blankenship, Boyce Dietz, T.L. Jones, Danny Muse, O'Neill Muse, Chuck McMahon, Sarah Robinson, Mark Sale, and Dan Treeherne. If you're here, please rise and let's give these people a great round of applause. Because every Friday night, whether it be football, I know volleyball's going on tonight. We've got JV football up on the hill tonight. Of course, a big game tomorrow night with the Cherokee Braves on our Hall of Fame night. That's going to be a huge game, and we hope you'll all come back tomorrow night for more of the Hall of Fame recognition and for what should be a great ball game as well. But again, a great, great class. And at this time, I would ask all these great athletes to please join me on stage. Robbie Brown, Steve Claxton, Cayla Crawley, Shellby Parker, and Cody White. Seriously, as you've already seen somewhat in the video, and as I look around behind me, I see some outstanding athletes. To my left here, of course, Cody White. You think about it, the 2004 State 1A Championship game, most outstanding player. Then we have Cayla Crawley. I tell you, the decade of the 2000s was good to us. She was the senior captain of 2008 and the state championship MVP. Then directly behind me, Shelby Parker, three-time All-State softball pitcher, pitched in the 2010 state championship contest. Then right behind me, Robbie Brown, another MVP, state 1A championship game, most outstanding player. Then to my far right, Steve Claxton, who was lost in the wilderness for several months before finally being found up in Maine at the end of the Appalachian Trail after about 2,200 miles. Sorry, Steve. But when we talk about these athletes and their accomplishments, what makes us so proud here at Swain County High School is not only what they've done on the field, but what they've become after they have left Swain County High School and what they have done as people outside of athletics. And I can truly say these people behind me are great citizens in their own right in their chosen fields. And they have made us all proud to wear the maroon and white. We're going to start it off tonight with Robbie Brown. And I could tell a lot of great stories about each person behind me, but I'll keep my comments brief. But probably after their dad as their first coach, it was my pleasure to be a coach for many members of this outstanding Brown family. And I've known these guys since they were kids. Of course, there were 5 brothers, Hugh and Tony and Buzzy and Robbie and Daniel. And it was a pleasure being their T-ball coach back in the day when we actually hit the ball off the tee, as I was talking to Buzzy a while ago. And I think 3 of the brothers were actually on that team, but it was a lot of fun and got to know this family, and they've been a blessing for many, many years. I have so many memories of Robbie as a player. I know at Western Carolina University, it was my pleasure to watch him. And for all you athletes behind me, I can say this as a broadcaster, it's so much fun. It's so thrilling to watch the excellence that you have presented to us as fans on the field. You don't know how much fun that is, because it is wonderful to see the excellence that you perform when you're out there, no matter what your sport. And every athlete on the stage really did a great job in not just one sport, but multiple sports. But I remember one instance in particular, Robbie Brown, we were playing at VMI, and Robbie was I think he was on the kickoff team on this particular play, but Robbie, I'm sure you remember it. You probably still have the scar. But he was going down to make a tackle, and he's trying to work his way through some people and trying to make the tackle, and he got his hand jammed under somebody's face mask. Well, what it did, it just kind of ripped the meat right back off his hand. Well, he just goes in, they stitch him up. He's right back out in no time at all. That's the kind of tough football player Robbie Brown was. He never let anything slow him down. And I think Coach Rod White probably had the ultimate compliment for Robbie Brown. It's been my pleasure with Coach White to broadcast on Friday nights as we watch and enjoy Swain High football. But Robbie, he made this statement, and I think this is a great compliment, and I think it's very true. He said, Robbie Brown was born to be a football player. And I couldn't agree more. Ladies and gentlemen, our first inductee tonight, Robbie Brown.
The last time I was up here, our team had gone in, and I always do this. It's a little chant I do. I try not to do it in church. I don't think my dad or Tony would appreciate it very much. Although I might be able to use it to get Dwight in church. I don't know. I've been trying for a while, but I'm going to ask my boys to help me out right here. I always do this. This is, and the story behind it, some of you might not have been here. When we would go, I love playing football. I don't necessarily love football. I love playing it. But here at Swain, going to practice, riding the bus, you know, everybody thinks, you really like practicing football? Absolutely. Loved every minute of it. Talked to Steve Manley. He always talked about, you guys always had fun at practice. Always. Yes, it's monotonous, but and it's tough, and it was a grind. I don't know about today's practice. I've been watching Neil and those guys. I don't think these players know what tough is, but going to those practices and being with those guys and burning up and going, you know, late in the year when it gets dark at 5, the modern day players think, well, yeah, we practice at dark. Well, we were doing it in the summertime. We did 2-a-days, but we grinded, and I always tried to cut up at practice. I was always doing something stupid. But on the way back, I always started this chant, and everybody on the bus would do it. And Coach Marr asked me a couple times to quit doing it, but we did it just to goad him a lot of the times. But we started this chant. And every time we'd do it, we'd say, if you're coming through town, right when you get ready to start up that hill, we would start it. And the closer we got to the high school, the more purple Coach Marr's head would turn. And but we did this chant, and I'm going to ask my boys out here because they know it. This is the way I started out. And if you guys want to join in, you can. Na-na-na-na, na-na-na-na, you got the balls to do it? Na-na-na-na, na-na-na-na, you got the... That's what I'm talking about, baby. So, no, we'll ride this roller coaster a little bit. That's about all I can promise. No, I love it. I really do, and I love the game. I love Swain County. But there's, you know, you sit here, and I'm sure these guys are going to be thespians and more elegant than I am, and humble. You know, if you know me, I'm kind of cocky. You know, I always have been. But I'm not cocky about myself as much as I'm cocky about my team and my teammates. A lot of people don't know me. They think I brag about myself. I really don't. I brag about what we did as a team, the Maroon Devil team. Brag about our coaches. Because, you know, proof's in the pudding. 8 state titles, right? You know, you can't beat that. But when I start thinking about our team and I start thinking about my friends and what we learned from our coaches. And people want to bash coaches nowadays, well, all the time. They've always wanted to bash coaches. And now people always say, well, what are you going to do in your speech? I think a lot of people were afraid of what I was going to talk about tonight. Like I was going to bash the coaches. No, not going to bash them. Because the coaching staff we had set the bar kind of high, if you guys understand. I mean, it don't matter who you get in here, Vince Lombardi, they're not going to do what our coaches did with the guys that they had to do it with. We wasn't super athletes. We weren't. Well, Heath, he was all right. He was, for a scrawny guy, he could throw the ball pretty good. But, you get coaches like that, and then they're out there grinding with you. They're out there going through it every day with you. Not just in football, baseball, every sport we had back then. It was, I guess the motto that I would be talking about was the and then some factor, our best and then some. And a lot of people, you say that to, and they're like, what does that mean? But if you give it your best, if you have to ask the question, you really don't understand it. There's no need in trying to explain it to you. You'll never get it. But to each person, I guess, there's that and then some, what's your and then some. And I guess that's the modern kids that are playing now. It's really tough for me to sit and watch practice. It really is. And Neil and those guys have a challenge because I think, not to bash coaches as a program, it's just that's what's gone. A lot of coaches from Robbinsville and other places, there's something missing at Swain. What is it? And in my opinion, it's the and then some. It's something that's hard to find. And for me, I guess, not to talk about myself, I'll tell you about another guy that I know. And some of you may know the guy. A few years ago, it's probably 25 years ago, he had went to the beach with some of his friends. And they were riding motorcycles, and this car pulled out in front of them. And these guys were flying through there. Motorcycles crashing. The car is horrific. They turn around and go down. Man's pinned up under the car. Car's smoking. Guy gets down, starts picking the car, and actually picks the car up, front of the car. Small car, picks the car up. And the guy that was under the car ends up living. And I'll just go real quick. About 10 years later, same guy, traveling down the road, between Black Mountain, Nebo area, pulls up, a bunch of people out in the middle of the highway. Gets out. Everybody's standing around. He looks, and there's a truck sitting upside down. The top of the truck was crushed. And kids in there screaming for help. And everybody's standing there. This guy, beeline, boom, jumps in the truck, and then he's pinned. Kid's pinned. Finally gets the seatbelt off of him, truck smoking, pulls the kid out. Kid thanks him. Guy goes, gets in his vehicle, and goes on. 10 years down the road, riding with a buddy of his, coming back. I think it's from Waynesville. Pull up, same situation, right at the top of Balsam. Just another bad car wreck. One of the locals' son was involved, I guess. Went up, checked on him. Then he takes off, and he sees the car over there, and it's getting ready to catch on fire. He goes out, beeline, jumps in, gets the kid out. Thanks, the kid thanks him, everything goes, gets back in the car with his friend. And his friend tells him, man, I had mad respect for you. But I now, that was unreal. He goes, I don't think I could have done that. And, Robbie Brown, I'm a clown. I always joke. I always want to have fun, cut up. But there's some people, I guess, in that guy's life that made him do that taught him to take care of others, not be selfish, but to always looking at, and I guess, go out and help them and not even worry about yourself, just to go out and take care of people, to put your life on the line and go do that. That guy, I refer to him as Robert Thorpe Brown. Robbie may have done it, but Robert Thorpe Brown, that's, my parents named me that. Jim Thorpe, you can imagine the pressure. Some of you may not know Jim Thorpe. Jim Thorpe was the greatest athlete ever who happened to be a Native American. I don't say he's the greatest Indian athlete because that limits him to just that, you know. But to have that, it's kind of a pressure, and it wasn't intended. But I was always reminded, you know, Jim Thorpe. And if you read, and I'm not going to tell you, but if you read about him, because you need to sit down and read about this man. What he did is unbelievable. And so me trying to live up to that name. So I tried to do everything I could. When I played football, I played with a passion and an intensity. But it wasn't just Robbie Brown, Robert Thorpe Brown. I had coaches that were unbelievable. I had a family that was unbelievable. My parents, you know, my mom and my dad, I watched them grind. Never complained. Had 5 boys that they raised. They weren't perfect. Absolutely, you guys know them, but they grinded. And I was blessed to have them. Blessed to have my parents and my brothers. And then get blessed again, you know, and I can say this without question, and I'm not going to talk about her, you know, I'm going to talk to her, because I would not, without a shadow of a doubt, I would not be standing here tonight without this woman. And Tavish, I would not be here tonight if it weren't for you. You deserve to be where I'm at. You really do. And not in a joke, and all your friends, you say, I don't say how you stand to be with him and all that kind of stuff. The Lord blessed me that he always has a plan. He saved me a long time ago, you know, and I was blessed. He blessed me with parents and brothers, my brothers that beat on me and stuff, but made me tough. Like Gary said, I was able to endure some of that stuff because, you know, I don't know, too many kids getting hogtied and rolled down the church steps made me pretty tough. But Tavish, he walked you in that door that night, and he knew that I think he knew that I would look up and see that beautiful smile that just grabbed my heart. Those eyes, you know, got my soul, grabbed my soul, you know, and looking at you, just the most beautiful, beautiful woman in the world, inside and out. Not just your outer beauty. You're kind to people who don't deserve it. You love people that don't deserve it. You respect people that absolutely don't deserve it. These kids call you Mama Tavish because you are that mom. I got 2 beautiful kids, absolutely beautiful kids, inside and out. They're just like you. They're just like you. Because, you know, up until 1998, February 24th, 1998, my mom was the greatest mom in the world. And she is. She's great. But when my baby girl was born, I've watched you raise my kids, and you are absolutely unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And there's no way to thank you. You know, you guys don't know what she endured. You know, football puts you through stuff. Cody knows this. Anybody that's played the game knows this. There's times that I would come home from practice at Western and even Swain, come home and lay on the floor, you know, and have concussion and just banging headache, just unrelenting headache. Turn off the lights, you know, pull the curtains, and for hours just lay on the floor. She was always by my side. You know, always bringing me a wet washcloth. She would sit there and cry, you know, and, you know, you get sawed after the tears dry after concussion. You don't know a lot. You wake up and you got tears and stuff on your face is dried. She'd be wiping my face. But I could also see the pain in her eyes because she knew that I was going through that. And she probably didn't know. You know, she would go and she'd come right back and sit right down there beside me. I always went through that. And I apologize for putting you through that. You know I don't say I'm sorry to anybody, but I love you forever for doing that. You are my queen. And I thank you for everything, And I you know, I talked about my coaches a second ago, but there's a group that a lot of people forget. And Coach Manley and I were out there talking. He says, you know, sometimes I've given speeches and I've forgotten and get in trouble forgetting this group. But if you're and I know Cody's up here, but if you're a spouse or a child of a coach, would you please stand up? If you're a spouse or a child of a former coach or present coach, would you please stand up? Stand up, Coach. Give these guys a hand. These guys are the guys that are forgotten. I know there's, and all these players, stinky locker room. We're coming out of the field house, and these coaches, I don't feel sorry for them. They're in there washing clothes as they thought Coach White's washing clothes. Let him do it. He made me run extra sprints, So, but there's a group there's long nights when we'd walk out and there'd be a light in the field house, and knowing those coaches were in there grinding, and we appreciated it. We really did. But there was also Cody, Carol, Linda, those wives that were sitting at home taking care of those kids, getting ready to put them in bed, feeding them, giving them a bath. While these men were out turning us into men, they were missing out on that. That's another reason I don't bash coaches. Now, I'll get frustrated with them, and I'll go talk with them. I won't stab them in the back. I'll go talk to them. But they go through it. I was never, until recently, I consider coaching, but until recently, I wasn't willing to do that with my kids and my wife. I didn't want to get away from them. I wasn't willing to sacrifice my family and the time that I would spend with my kids like coaches do. And then a lot like my dad being a preacher and my mom being a preacher, I'd be ridiculed and cursed and commented and all that kind of stuff that coaches and preachers and people do. People in those positions have to put up with. And I commend you men for that, and you women for that. And the reason I say woman, because I'm going to be honest with you, the toughest coach, and she's not coaching anymore, that I truly appreciate, because she reminds me of every one of these old coaches, these old school coaches, Coach Dees, Coach White, Coach Jay, all you guys. It's Sonia. She's the best coach you had. I'm serious. She's tough. I loved it. Loved watching her. Loved how she dealt with the kids, whether it was playing time or anything. Loved watching that because she watched you guys. She learned that. So all the stuff that you guys have done and continue to do and did for me and my brothers and everybody, every player that came through this system, that's the and then some. I know what my and then some is. It's my wife. It's my kids. It's my family, my dad, my brothers. But here at Swain, you got guys like Dwight Winchester. He and I were talking the other day, and I was one time I was at the pawn shop, and these guys were talking. Said, you really can't just list a guy's name on a piece of paper and expect him to put him in the Hall of Fame. Well, that's what Robert White did for me. I'm here. But I can tell you right now, Dwight Winchester, Kevin Jones. I list a bunch of guys off the 88. Jeff Armitage. Tony Plemons, guys from back in the day. Robert Randall. I'm sitting here going through some names. You guys know them. You could just list their name, and they deserve to be in this Hall of Fame. And I hope that one day they will. I didn't turn this down. I turned it down a few years ago because I wanted to go in the Hall of Fame with my football team. But my concern is that there's men that are, and women that deserve to be in this Hall of Fame. I almost turned this down. You can ask my wife in Brooklyn. They got mad. I got the letter. And they said, "You're going in this time." I said, I don't know. "You're going in." And I said, "Okay. All right, I'll go in." But my fear is there's a lot of men, a lot of deserving men and women that deserve to be here. And I still am reluctant because I hope they're not forgotten. Because they deserve this. They earned this. They bled. They grinded. They went to the practices. They stayed up all night. They set goals like my daughter to be the valedictorian and go to practice and go to games and come back at 11 and be crying at 2 or 3 in the morning knowing that she had that goal, and she did it with a 4.7 something GPA. Are you kidding me? How insane is that? But there's people those guys that grinded with us and did those things the guys before us deserve to be here. These guys deserve to be here. They really do. But there's time. Now it's time because I don't want those guys to be forgotten. So I know I've got long. Everybody probably thought, well, he's going to talk for 2 minutes. I'm going to talk for 2 hours. No, I'm not going to talk for 2 hours. I'm almost done. And I appreciate you for your time. And I thank you for that, instilling that and then some. Because Robert Brown wasn't jumping in those cars and trying to get those people out. He learned that from you. All that was from you. You instilled that in me. The and then somes. I'll tell you about one more and then some. That's Shelby sitting back here. I used to run tournaments in Cherokee for a long time. And I told her dad this the other day at a golf tournament. I used to go out there and I'd be running the tournaments on Sunday. Everything's winding down. And be getting all my stuff together. And teams would be leaving. I'd be getting ready to walk out of the ballpark. And I'd look up and I'd see Mike. And I saw this little girl coming out carrying a bucket, balls and a glove, and going out and getting her 200 pitches in. You know, that's the and then some, doing that extra, grinding it out. And that dad that's sitting on that bucket for hours, loving every second of it. So I guess the and then some motto in this speech is, let's try to get that back. I know Neil's going to try. I'm going to try to talk to as many players as I can. I hope some of these old coaches come back because the high school that I love, Swain that I love, it's worth that. And I'll leave you with this last thing. My first college football game, I walked out in front of 85,000 people. Played at Georgia. I walked out in front of 85,000 people. And right now, I'm pretty sure the only thing I'm known for about playing against Georgia was kicking Uga when he tried to cross our linebacker line. I kicked the crap out of that dog. But so that's what everybody remembers me for. And I could tell you, you know, they don't remember that the first hit I ever had in college. There was this guy. He's probably 6'8", and he's huge coming down the field, and he's bringing it. I got Coach White in my head. You know, you got to grit your teeth. I got all this stuff going, and it's my first hit. And I'm telling you, I had to jump to hit this guy. I hit him right in the chin. And I stovepiped him, and some of you guys don't know what that is. When stovepipes, when somebody's been on you, stand them straight up, and then you drive that son of a gun in the ground. That's my first hit, my first play in college. And I'm known for kicking a dog. But, no, 85,000 people, and it was an experience. But I can tell you this, played for 85,000 people and a bunch of other big games. And Dwight can attest to this. There's nothing like coming out of that locker room in front of those fans. Nothing like coming out of the locker room and banging on that door. Listening to these coaches give those speeches and walking out on Swain's football field. I'm not talking about with that stupid blown-up helmet and all that kind of crap. I'm talking about old school coming out. And I'm not talking about the crowd we got that's sitting there looking at their phone. I'm talking about old Swain County fans that were on their feet the entire game, screaming and yelling and going crazy. That's Swain County's and then some. We've got to get that back. Thank you.
In case some of you didn't get a program, I'm just going to kind of go through some of the highlights because there's so many highlights here for these athletes. And if you don't have one, you need to know this. And if you don't have a program, please stop and get one on the way out. But some of Robbie's highlights as a player, he played football, he wrestled, played baseball, ran track. Just a great football player. Senior captain of the 88 state 1A championship football team. And as I mentioned before, the state 1A championship game most outstanding player. And I talked to Heath Schuler one time about this, Robbie, and we were talking about that. And, of course, he got a lot of the credit for being such a great player, and he was, and he deserved it. But he told me one time, he said, you know, one guy who didn't get enough credit for that state championship team sitting right behind me, Robbie Brown. That came straight from Heath Schuler. But Robbie excelled as a two-way player on both sides of the ball, as a linebacker and running back. Finished as our all-time leader in rushing touchdowns with 60. His career fourth on the all-time rushing list, 3,109 yards on 342 carries. Was the Smoky Mountain Back of the Year in all Western North Carolina his senior season. And a member of 7 Smoky Mountain Conference championship teams, as well as 3-time individual Smoky Mountain champion. Walked on, as we mentioned, at Western Carolina, earned a scholarship, named special teams captain. He was a great player at Western Carolina, a very prototypical middle linebacker, and a 2-year starter there as well, and went on to play professionally with the Portland Forest Dragons in the Arena Football League. And that's our Robbie Brown. Another guy we want to talk about is to Robbie's right, and we're going in alphabetical order, and his name is Steve Claxton. And Steve was so instrumental in getting the Hall of Fame started. Of course, with one of our other Hall of Fame members, Robert White. They were very instrumental in making the Hall of Fame a reality. And so many good things I could say about Steve. One of the funny things I'll never forget, back, of course, when Steve worked with the school system, he kind of started getting our video broadcast on the air so people can actually not only listen, but watch the games live on the internet. And that's a wonderful thing. And so many schools are really impressed and envious of what we're doing with that to this day. And Steve was very instrumental in getting that started. But I remember one night we were playing at Andrews, and their field goal kicker came out to kick a field goal, and I got to looking, and he was kind of warming up, and he was left-footed. And for some reason, it just really struck me strange. And so I said on the broadcast, wow, Andrews has a left-footed kicker. That's really strange. It's kind of odd. You just never see a left-footed kicker, you know, and you really don't. But anyway, the guy kicked the field goal, and they got the 3 points, and we went to a commercial break. And Steve Claxton looked at me in not so friendly eyes, and he says, what's wrong with being a left-footed kicker? And I said, well, it's just really weird. It's strange. You never see a left-footed kicker. And he looked at me very calmly and seriously and said, I was a left-footed kicker. So, but anyway, Steve Claxton did so much more than kick a football. We could go on and on and on and on. He has raised literally thousands of dollars with the work he's done with the Big Brothers and Big Sisters organization. And I know for a fact that Steve is the kind of guy that he doesn't like to be up here in front of the lights. He likes to work behind the scenes, and he has done that so many times here at Swain County High School. One of my favorite movies is called The Book of Eli, starring Denzel Washington. And in that movie, if you've ever watched it, and if you haven't, just to give you the brief overview of how it goes, it's one of these post-apocalyptic things where the sun has kind of just burned up the earth and there's nothing much left. There's very little food, very little water, very few people, as a matter of fact, and most of the people are really bad. Well, Denzel's going through walking west. God has instilled in him that he's supposed to walk west. And in this movie, Eli, Denzel Washington, probably has the only King James version of the Bible left on this burned up earth. And every night he reads some of the King James version of the Holy Bible. Well, later in the movie, after he's killed a bunch of bad guys, he's got a pretty wicked sword too, by the way. But later in the movie, a young lady who gets away from the bad guys teams up with Denzel Washington, and she can't read. So she starts asking him about this book that Denzel reads every night. And she says, what have you learned from that book that I see you reading every night? And Denzel says, well, there's a lot in that book, but he says probably, and I've always remembered this, it's a great way to live. He says, do more for others than you do for yourself. And I think that says what Steve Claxton has done with his life. He has done more for others than he has done for himself. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Claxton.
Well, that guy looks old. Ooh. Gary and I have we've had a little competition going on over the years. And Gary, I have the opportunity. You'll have the last say, so there you go. Robbie telling about his chant coming up to the high school. I couldn't help but think of the rainy, cold night in Rosman, pouring the rain. I was up on top, no cover. My wife was holding the rain umbrella over my head, protect the camera. And there was a Swain player that made a hit on a Rosman player. And we were live. We were on the internet. People watching all over the world, grandparents from California and whatnot. And you just never knew what was going to come out of Gary Ayers' mouth. And it wasn't like you could go back and take it back to the office and edit it. Well, you could, but it had already been said live, so. But one of our Swain players just lowered the boom on a Robbinsville player. And it was Gary and Steve Moon announcing that night. And I'm listening through headphones. I hear everything they say, and Gary says, "Oh my gosh, that guy got hit in the manly region." And they could not just leave it at that. The more they talked about it, the deeper the hole got. And finally, Gary said, and I don't mean Steve or Frank. So a lot of times y'all were down there in the dry in that case. We were enjoying the laughs. I want to talk just a little bit. Oh, by the way, Gary, I understand the ground rules here. Whatever our number was in high school, that's the number of minutes we got to talk. Is that correct? So Cody and I were number 5, as well as his brother. So I got to make it short and sweet. I want to talk a little bit, just real quick, about he was a great friend of mine. I had the privilege to work for him, and he was a great visionary. And he had big ideas much bigger than most people could ever imagine. In fact, this facility that you're sitting in tonight enjoying this celebration was because mainly of him. He wanted something for the whole community that we could have events like this in, and it's been used not only countywide but by other groups and other counties, and just a state-of-the-art facility. I remember him calling me into his office one afternoon. When he called me into his office, I knew something was up. He said, "Steve, I want to share something with you." I said, "Okay, what's that?" I said, "I want to start an athletic hall of fame for Swain High." And when Robert White had an idea, he had a big idea. If you've not visited the Hall of Fame building, I encourage you to do so. The program that this has grown to be, the facility up there at the stadium, I think you could travel across this state to any of the 1,084 high schools in the state of North Carolina and not find a facility or program as good as this program and facility is. And that's due greatly to Mr. Robert White. He had a vision. He had lots of visions, and I always admired him for that. And it was always an honor to try to carry out that vision. When I went to work for Swain County Schools, I was actually already operating my business. I'm an outfitter. I take people camping and fly fishing. And Mr. White sent Dan Treherne to me. Then he sent Bob Marr. And finally we got it worked out where I didn't exactly know. I knew he wanted to get an after-school program started, but I didn't quite know about the 8 other programs that I was going to be responsible for. He was good at passing things down to you. But the greatest program that I enjoyed by far the most was the Athletic Hall of Fame. To be able to go out into the community or travel to other cities and find people that were involved, Commodore Cassida, to interview them and video them, that played on the first football team in 1928, as well as a basketball player. The Wright brothers, Frank and Bob, who played on the first undefeated football team in 1934. Those guys were legends. And I didn't get any more enjoyment from anything else than going out and talking to those people, trying to find memorabilia. I'll never forget, Jim Inslee was so excited. He came across the leather helmet that's in the Hall of Fame now. And he was so excited that he could donate that to our Hall of Fame. It is a great program, and I'm honored to be here tonight as a part of that program. It takes a lot of people to coach, to sponsor. As little kids, I played mites, midgets, JVs, varsity, and then 4 years of college. So I spent a lot of time on the football field, and I realize how many people it takes. Not just the coaches, not just the sponsors, but the community as a whole. And we talk about Maroon Devil pride. It didn't just start in the last 10 years or 20 years. You could hear it in those guys' voices that started way back in 28 and 34. It's been here for a long, long time. But it's kept people like you to keep that pride going. My mom and dad were two of my biggest heroes. They both started their career teaching here in Swain County. Both of them were coaches. And they supported me and my three brothers. There were 4 boys in my family. In whatever endeavor we wanted to take on. My dad went as far as to build a set of goalposts for me to practice kicking, to become the best kicker I could be. Put them in the backyard through high school and college. And I think of all the things that my mom did. Many of you may have been involved at May Day. And she coached basketball back in the 50s. She was very active in the high school here for her 33-year career as a physical education teacher. But there were a lot of heroes. There were a lot of people that helped me to accomplish the things I want to accomplish. And not only them, but other kids as well. And you see people that have gone on from Swain High, you know it took a village. It truly took a village to make those kids what they became. You know, one of Swain High's greatest claims to fame was a young fellow who played football, basketball here, baseball. Went on to Vanderbilt, became a research scientist, and created Viagra. I'll never forget Jackie Corbin standing behind this podium, and Gary giving him the hardest time of, why couldn't you give up something, invent something for the eyes or the ears, something we could see. Viagra? Now, many of you may not know that, but a Swain High graduate accidentally invented Viagra. It's on his plaque at the Hall of Fame at the very top. But, you know, we've each got a gift. We were all blessed with gifts, God-given gifts. And one of the things my parents taught me growing up, taught me to the day they died, was perseverance. I'll never give up. And I've learned that even more so in my older years, as I've been on some crazy adventures in my lifetime. My mom passed away, and I wanted to start a scholarship in her name. My brothers and I did, and we really hadn't raised but about $5,000, so I decided to hop on my bike and ride my bike across the country from Astoria, Oregon, back to Bryson City to start a scholarship in her name, which is now given to future teachers of Swain County that's going off to college. Last year, we need to raise some money to start a program in Graham County for Big Brother Big Sisters, as well as the program here existing in Swain County. And I threw in my pack, and I went down to Georgia and I hiked to Maine, 2,200 miles. And my parents taught me not to give up. And they taught me the gifts that we have inside of each of us. Every one of you has a gift, or many gifts. They're all God-given gifts. It's just up to you to figure out what those gifts are, to give to others, to make others' lives better, and doing your best, and then some. Thank you.
Some of Steve's accolades, besides all the great work he's done outside the football field and the basketball gym, he was a two-sport letterman who excelled in football, outstanding kicker during his football career here at Swain County High School, and also kicked the career-long 42-yard field goal against Andrews, even if it was left-footed, that stood as the school record until 2004. And he played football at Western Carolina University under one of the greatest coaches I've had a joy to work with, and that's Bob Waters from 1974 to 1977. And as I mentioned, was really, really instrumental in help starting our Athletic Hall of Fame, to construct the Hall of Fame building, and to get together some funding and a lot of that memorabilia that you can see. You need to go by and see that. But ladies and gentlemen, Steve Claxton, what a wonderful person. You know, Robbie, you were talking about, we were talking about before the program about Coach White was giving some of his old players like you, and I know Travis Heide gave him a hard time the other night on the broadcast when his son came into the game, and his own son, Cody White, said, oh, yeah, I can take them, no problem. I can still take them. But when we were talking about Cayla Crawley on the broadcast and the Athletic Hall of Fame induction tonight, he says, I'm not messing with her. So, Cayla, you got his number. But talking about Cayla Crawley, and it's so wonderful to see these kids turn into great adults that sit behind me tonight. Cayla Crawley, when she went to Lenoir-Rhyne after such an outstanding career here at Swain County High School, and of course Swain County has a lot of good friends and former coaches and connections at Lenoir-Rhyne. And, of course, she finished her career at Western Carolina University. But a couple of friends of mine who worked at Lenoir-Rhyne told me this, and it just impressed me to death. And, Cayla, it's just an outstanding compliment. When you were down there, your workout regimen and the way you took care of yourself and the hard work you put in, and this came from a coach, I want you to know. He said, Cayla Crawley is the hardest working, most in-shape athlete here at Lenoir-Rhyne, men or women. That was a supreme compliment, Cayla Crawley, and that came straight from Lenoir-Rhyne. But Cayla Crawley has gone on to excel. She's kind of moved up north a little bit. We hope some of that Yankee stuff doesn't rub off on her too bad, but because she's got to be a Southern girl, I think, forever and ever. But ladies and gentlemen, we are so proud to induct Miss Cayla Crawley.
Who told you that, but that is a great compliment. But compliment to the coach because he ran our butts off. But I actually wrote a speech. I'm not as gifted as being able to stand up here and remember what I was planning on saying. But this is such an honor. As a young athlete, you have several dreams about your athletic career. It's first getting to the varsity level, and then it's winning state championship, and then it's getting to the college level. And the ultimate is being recognized and being rewarded by being inducted into the Hall of Fame. So it's bittersweet to stand up here and recognize that this is the cap to my dreams or my athletic career. Looking back, I definitely had the privilege of several different experiences. I was blessed in playing in high school. I played club. I went to D2. I went to D1. I had several different experiences, but none of that would have been possible without the parents. I remember, and I'm sure they do also, I remember playing a basketball game in Hayesville on a Friday night and them having to drive after my game, drive me all the way to Greenville, North Carolina, got in at like 3 a.m., got up at 6 a.m. because I had games for club volleyball at 8 a.m., and I played 8 games that day, and they would drive me so I could sleep and so I could rest and be able to play. And I remember it's the same thing with practice. I had club practice 3 times a week in Hendersonville, and they would pick me up. I'm sure Coach Burrell remembers. They would honk, and it'd be 5 o'clock, and I'd be on the softball field, and I'd run up and drive 2 hours to Hendersonville to practice from 7 to 9, and then be home by like 11 or midnight. And they would drive, and I would sleep and do homework. So, I mean, that in itself was dedication and support and belief inside me. And I would, financial support aside, which is important, they molded me and they shaped me into what I'm so grateful for today. They taught me how to be, more importantly, like mentally strong. Because of this, I've been able to withstand very high pressure situations, and not only withstand it, but to perform underneath it. Which has made me not only a great athlete, but has made me a great person in academics and in career-wise, work-wise. They taught me how to do that. Mom and Dad would always preach to be mentally strong, and that's what I'm grateful for, because it bleeds not only into athletics, but into academics and into work and into life. They also taught me how to be confident, not cocky, because there's a difference, but they taught me how to be confident in myself, which is, I think, is so special today because there's so much low self-esteem out there. So confidence has allowed me to tackle so many obstacles, but more importantly, has allowed me to be happy. So thanks, parents. Drawing on my many different channels and levels of ball, I was able to play. I had so many coaches. I actually sat down and counted them. In just high school up, I had 18 different coaches. Several different techniques, different styles, different expectations. And I can honestly say, and I'm not just saying this because I'm standing up here right now, but I can honestly say that the coaches here at Swain County High School are exceptional. The culture they cultivated, the messages they ingrain in you are so superior, and they're so vital to athletics and into life. They bleed into so much more than just athletics. When reflecting back on my career here at Swain, there are many takeaways and life lessons. There's so many things to talk about, so many things to be so grateful for. But I believe there's one theme that is the most important to me, and I've seen this throughout so many experiences that I've already had. It's so much more than just skills and championships, and I believe that this theme is so underrated, and it's more than what is perceived at just the face value. And this theme at the rawest level that I learned from the coaches here at Swain is to have the heart to compete. It's not just competing, it's having the heart to compete. It's so much more than just showing up at practice and going through the drills. It's more than showing up at the games and putting the jersey on and going through the motions. It's more than just meeting your coach's expectations. Having the heart to compete is that and some. It's that extra oomph that gives you that edge. I always say oomph for some reason. I think that fits. It's that deep side inside of you clawing feeling that brings you out of your skin, that forces you to get out of your head. And you're playing at a higher level than everyone else and everyone else around you, and a higher level than you ever believed, because you have that heart to compete. If there's any athletes in here, you know the exact feeling that I'm talking about. And it's so much more than you think initially. It means hitting that line every single time in sprints. And I know that sounds so corny, but it's so true. It's hitting that line every single time in sprints. It means getting lower on your squats. It means you're adding weight when you can't even walk anymore. It means even when practice is going good and you're being productive, it's stepping it up to that next level. It's expecting more, it's reaching more than what even your coaches are expecting. All athletes reach that 95% level of effort. It's fairly easy to get there. But it's that extra 5%, that's that oomph, and that's what's extraordinary. That is having the heart to compete. And that is the edge that sets you apart and what makes you great. And that's what I learned from the coaches here at Swain. It bleeds into so much. It bleeds into academics, not settling, not going through the motions. It's expecting more. It bleeds into your work career. It's wanting more challenges, more responsibilities, and to better yourself and to perform on a level you didn't even know you were capable of. I remember going to camps that put on by the high school coaches up here just in the 6th and 7th grade. And I remember hanging on every single word that they said. And they would always mention to have heart. And initially I thought this just meant you got to care. And I'm like, okay, I care, I'm here. But it's so much more than that. And I realized the power of having heart when I got to the varsity level. And I realized it even more when I got to the college level. And it's hardly even there. It doesn't happen as often there. To have the heart to compete sets you apart. It makes you great because it gives you an edge over everyone else. It makes you lead by action and not words, which is so much more powerful. It makes you believe in every single play that you run on offense because you believe in that play. You want that play to work. You have the heart to make that play work. It makes you dial in on defense, performing plays you didn't even know your body could even do. I bought into this message, and I believed in it, and I played by it. And for that, I'm most thankful because it's made me who I am today. I am a competitor, and I always will be. And because of this, I'll go places I've never even dreamed of. And I have Swain County High School High Athletics to thank for that. So thank you.
I told you her workout regimens were tough. She's already talking about getting deeper in the squats and hitting the line on sprints. Wow, we got some tough people behind me, people. You just heard it from Cayla. You heard about Robbie Brown getting his hand stitched up and going back in the game. I just remember a couple of things sitting there listening to Cayla. Steve Claxton, when he was training for his cross-country bicycle trip, had a big wreck up here right at the stadium, almost killed himself on a bicycle. Then he was out on the Appalachian Trail and had injury after injury and wanted to quit, but he didn't. That's that heart you're talking about, Cayla. And it's in the people on this stage. And we've seen it demonstrated so many times. But Cayla had an outstanding career, all-around athlete who excelled in 3 sports. Senior captain of the 2008 state championship volleyball team. First Swain volleyball player to be named Citizen Times Western North Carolina Player of the Year. And as I mentioned earlier, the state championship MVP, recording 17 kills in the championship match. Smoky Mountain Conference Player of the Year in both volleyball and basketball. 6-time All-Smoky Mountain Conference selection in both volleyball and basketball. We could go on and on and on. Had 5 matches with over 20 kills during her senior campaign, including 23 kills, 1 error-dominating performance against Brevard. In basketball, was selected to the Blue-White All-Star Game. Finished her basketball career with over 800 points and 500 rebounds. In softball, was part of 4 Smoky Mountain Conference championship teams and 4 trips to the North Carolina High School State Championships. All total, volleyball and softball, Cayla's teams won 8 Smoky Mountain Conference championships, 1 state championship, 1 state runner-up, and 2 Western Regional Championships. And she went on to play at Lenoir-Rhyne, was the 2011 LR Bear Pride Award winner, and then finished her volleyball career as a defensive specialist at Western Carolina University. We're very proud of our Cayla Crawley. Another young lady we're very proud of, and as I mentioned, being in broadcasting, it's such a joy and an honor to be a part of what these people do on the field, whether it's the coaches that are coaching them or the players who are playing, and you get to watch them. And these people perform at such a high level, it's just amazing. And I was so fortunate to broadcast a lot of softball games over the years. And one of the things I really enjoyed when Shellby Parker was playing, Shelby pitched just about every game, as Coach Burrell will attest. And I knew that when Shelby was going to pitch, we were probably going to win. So it was always you always kind of got yourself up and geared up because, hey, we're going to win today because Shelby's pitching. She's in the circle. She's going to get it done. And she got it done so many times. And it was just a joy to watch her in that circle perform what she does best. And she went on to Furman and performed at, again, Division I high level of athletics. And I was sitting here thinking, as I mentioned, okay, we got purple here with Steve Claxton, purple here with Robbie Brown. We got purple here with Shelby at Furman. Got purple with Cayla at Western Carolina. All this purple. And Cody, you keep hanging around in her, she's going to teach you that power of purple. So pretty good color. It's second to maroon, but purple's a pretty strong color as well. But we're so proud of all our college athletes up here on stage today. But I'll tell you more about Shelby in just a minute, because she was a joy to watch, as you saw many times. One of the greatest memories I had was when she beat Murphy, and I know they were out there, and Coach Burrell was talking to him in one of the games. She said, y'all better bring it because they're not going to score again. And they didn't score again because Shelby put them down, and it was a great game. And Shellby Parker is a great addition to our Swain High Athletic Hall of Fame. Shellby Parker.
Wow, what an honor it is to be inducted into the Hall of Fame at Swain. My story is a little bit different than everyone else's up here, and, just so honored to be inducted with these, great people. And I look around, and I'm so thankful for the Swain County community for welcoming me in with open arms. I came down here my sophomore year from Cherokee, loved it. It's just home to me for here. When I played any sport, I like to keep this quote in mind: if the good Lord's willing and the creek don't rise, I'm just here to help the team. It's a quote that my dad told me a lot, and, it made a lot of sense. Being at Swain County, everything was team. And I think, for me, having great leaders, like Cayla Crawley, Lauren Manley, they really demonstrated that for me and allowed me to, make my way in Swain County. I would like to take a moment, to thank a handful of people who have helped me, guided me, and pushed me along the way. A big thank you to all of my former coaches, Coach Burrell, for welcoming me with open arms, Coach Carson, Coach Anthony, Coach Hebe, Coach Shellby. Man, I really thought that Coach Shellby was the toughest coach that I've ever had, making me dive on the floors after volleyball, and I was like, whew, I didn't really realize volleyball was all this. It wasn't too intense at Cherokee, but here, state champions, thank you to Coach B. My first year here for basketball, he took me aside and he was like, you're a leader, and at Cherokee, they didn't push me to be their leader that I could be, and I'm so thankful, that he took me aside and gave me that extra one-on-one and pushed me to be the leader that I could be. Thank you to my teammates, Cayla Crawley. I think Bop's here. You saw Courtney Barker. She was the state highway patrolman. Without my teammates, I think that's a big part of it. And then some here at Swain is your great teammates, like Robbie said, who hit that line, who push just in and out every day, just like you do. They're a big part of it too. My teachers, I wasn't the best math student. Miss McMahon, man, she is awesome. She is. She was amazing. She made me an Afghan, a purple and white Afghan. She made me scrapbooks. She was awesome. My family, my brother, my dad spent a lot of one-on-one time with me, catching me, and it took some time away from my brother, and I'm really thankful for my brother for, understanding that. The wonderful Swain County communities and Cherokee communities for the support that they've given me, the times that I've been here, and, Cherokee supported me with my decision to move down here. And I wish I could provide, each of you plaques for the pivotal roles you've all played in my life, because, it's been such an important role in my life. I would also like to give special thanks to my grandparents for all the love and support. Mama and Papa Burrell, rest Papa Burrell's soul, for the love and advice they gifted me during my time at Swain. Mr. Dave Anderson from Canton, North Carolina, he taught me and he grew me into the pitcher I became, encouraged me to pass on the gift of pitching and the love for the game. My dad, for the numerous road trips, softballs to the shin, advice, being a shoulder to cry on during my toughest losses, and being the biggest smile I looked for after the big wins. You've never failed to be there for me. Thank you. And lastly, And lastly, thank you to God for giving me the ability to learn and grow in the game of softball and for letting me have so many wonderful people touch my life along the way. Thank you all.
No, thank you, Shelby. Shelby was our 2011 District Player of the Year, 2011 Smoky Mountain Conference Co-Player of the Year, all Western North Carolina, 3-time All-District Smoky Mountain Conference and All-State selection. Graduated as our all-time leader in wins with 61. I told you, about every time she pitched, we won. Had an ERA unbelievable of not 1, but below 1, 0.94. 820 strikeouts in 486 innings pitched. She threw 6 no-hitters, 4 perfect games, won 21 games twice, the only player to ever win more than 20 games, and the other year she only won 19. But she surpassed 200 strikeouts in each season, including a school record 285, as you saw in the video. Struck out 820 to only 122 walks in her career. And her teams won 3 Smoky Mountain Conference championships, was the 2010 state runner-up, 2009 Western Regional champions, 32 career shutouts, including a 1-0 14-inning win in the 2009 Western Regional Finals. That was a gem, Shelby, and we were all there to watch it. Yes. And she went on to continue her career at Furman University, playing 3 years, graduated early. She is an overachiever and was twice named the Southern Conference Pitcher of the Week. We're so proud to welcome Shellby Parker into our Hall of Fame. Congratulations. Now for this next guy. His name's Cody White. Thank goodness he's a good-looking guy. Looks like his mom. That's we can be very thankful for that. But we were talking about storytellers with Steve Claxton a moment ago. If you really want to hear some stories, get Steve Claxton, Rod White, and Billy Jenkins together. I guarantee you could sit there for hours and you'd enjoy every single minute of it. You know, watching Cody grow up, as we mentioned, so many of these people behind me, watching them grow up and become outstanding athletes and outstanding people. I knew Cody was special and his team was special after we played Morristown West. We went over to their place, as you know, and I think they had like 95 players who dressed out. Of course, they never played anybody both ways. They even substituted on 2 platoon teams. I mean, they had fresh people in there all afternoon. I remember we played over there, Cody, and it was so hot that time we went over there. It was really hot and miserable, and we played a great first half. But in the second half, you know, when our guys are playing both ways like Cody did on offense and defense, hey, when it's hot and they have fresh people on both sides of the ball, that kind of wears you down. And they wore us out pretty good over there that year. Well, next year, Morristown West came over here and they brought all their buses and all their players got off the bus, and we're thinking, oh my goodness, here we go again. Well, Morristown West went back to Morristown, Tennessee with their tail between their legs because we whipped them here at Swain County High School that night. And this guy and his dad had a big part in that. And I knew when we beat Morristown West that night that this team was going to be special because I looked at the rest of our schedule. That was one of our first games early in the year, and I thought, wow, we beat Morristown West. We might could run the table. And Cody, you guys ran the table. Undefeated, 14-0 state champions. And it's so ironic that it was 25 years ago in 1979 when our first undefeated state championship team occurred. 25 years later, 2004, Cody White and so many great teammates that I'm sure he'll talk about. Of course, his dad was a part of that great run, and it was magical. And Cody, we thank you for being a very big part of that magical year and all the great excellence you brought with you, your teammates, and the coaches. And we are so proud to induct you into the Swain High Athletic Hall of Fame.
Thank you. We all really know why I'm here. I know Coach Frank's there. I'm here because of my impeccable free throw percentages. I could shoot it. I'm the only guy that would hide after every basketball practice because I knew we had to shoot free throws to see how many suicides that we didn't have to run. And I would run all over this place to hide from Coach Frank, and he'd go find me to have to make me shoot free throws. So, and anyway, thank everyone for being here. It is a great honor to stand up here amongst all of the great athletes that have come through Swain County High School. I'd like to thank the good Lord for giving me the athletic ability and to keep me from injury. That's the main thing, is to be able to play 13 years of football and stuff like that without any serious injuries and be able to do what we were able to do. Family, friends, and coaches. To my family, my dad, who managed to be both a father and a coach of 2 athletes, and ended up being pretty good at both of them. I know that that's difficult, doing a little bit of coaching myself. I can only imagine when your sons are playing or daughters are playing how difficult that actually might be. So I appreciate that. To my brother, who always, when I was younger, said that I could hang out with the bigger guys and the older guys, but I had to be able to keep up. And so from a young age, I learned how to be a little bit tougher, learned how to be a little bit faster, a little bit meaner, because I was going to have to hang out with the older guys. I see Coach Steve, Mark Manley was one of those. You know, if I was going to do that, I put my little plastic helmet on and run around and jump off a trampoline, and they'd hit my legs and see how many flips I'd turn before I'd hit the ground. And maybe I wasn't supposed to tell that, but I was about to say, what that did is it was a great role model, allowed me to kind of tag along with the guys and show me what I needed to be in order to be a man, and I learned it at a very young age. And I think that helped me throughout my career. To my mom, who was also a coach of mine when I was playing basketball at a younger age. She was the mother to 2 athletes, the spouse, as Robbie said, to a coach who a lot of times wasn't able to come home or up in the middle of the night. She was the first person to be there when you were hurt or when you failed, when you lost. But she was also the first person to dust you off and tell you to get back in the game. And I think that takes a special person to have a loving and nurturing side, but also have the sternness to tell you to get back in there and not quit. And as I told Gary Ayers, I believe in 2004, after one of the games, Gary asked me, he said, "How did you get the moves like that?" I think it was against Elkin. And I said, "Well, if you had to dodge Linda White's whippings, you'd learn to move pretty quick too." So I say at a young age, I learned to move around a little bit and run a little bit quicker. To my teammates, to my friends, and I call them my friends and my teammates and my family, I began playing ball at a very young age, probably 3 or 4. I started playing t-ball, started playing football when I was about 7 years old. And it's very interesting playing sports at a place like Swain County High School because your teammates end up being your family. That's just the way that it is. We're a small school. We don't have enough people around to just say, hey, see them at practice or see them somewhere else and not see them in school. And what I learned is that these guys that I played with in all of my sports, the selfless acts that they did are the reason why I'm standing here. I've been to weddings, I've been to birthdays, children being born, and I've also been to funerals. These guys are 100% family. I know that any one of them could be standing up here with me today, and a lot of them deserve to be here, and I echo what Mr. Brown had said. I had Mitchell Green, who was a running back throughout my entire career of football. My senior year, we knew he needed to be on the line. They put Mitchell right in front of me, which when I had Mitchell Green and Dusty Lossy in front of me, that's 600 pounds of 18-year-old mad man. And so it's not really hard to run the ball when you've got that kind of stuff in front of you. To Van Downs, he was a tight end. He also did running back, and all of a sudden he needed to be a center. These guys gave up anything that they had for the benefit of the team. And that was something that I carried throughout my career that I wanted to remember. It's hard to remember these things when you're playing, but looking back, hindsight's always 20/20 as I began a different career. I see a lot of similarities with what you need to have in life and what you need to have going forward. Is when you begin to play for a team, when you begin to play for someone else, which is what I strive to do in everything, they are there to pick you up when you fall. As if we just saw right at the end when I scored against Elkin my senior year, Gary was about to mention something on there that there was a lot of things the previous year that was very hurtful, being 2 yards from scoring and fumbling on the 2-yard line to beat Elkin in 2003. And I figured out that, my teammates picked me up from that. They helped me work hard and come back to it the next year and be the best that I could be and win a state championship. And I've learned that, and I think playing ball at Swain County High School has taught me that, because in life you're going to fumble a whole lot more than you're going to score. You're going to lose a whole lot more than you're going to win. Not everybody deserves a trophy. Not everybody gets a trophy, and you shouldn't strive to be the only one to get one. And I think that's one of the greatest things I've learned is being able to go forward. Anytime you fall, anytime that you're playing for other people, there'll always be somebody there to pick you up. And if I was to say anything about my tenure here at Swain County High School, is that being able to be a part of a team, being able to be a part of a family like that is the reason why I'm standing here. So I thank the good Lord again, thank my family, and thank my friends for the opportunity to be able to be up here. I thank the board and all of those that have nominated us and voted us in, and all your time and considerations and everything that you've done to be able to put this together. And Mr. Robert White is not with us, but we want to thank him as well for everything that he put into this. Thank you very much, and have a good night.
Hey, Cody, we got him, didn't we? We got him, brother. What an outstanding crowd sitting behind me. It's just, it's humbling to sit up here with the greatness we have on this stage here tonight with Robbie Brown, with Steve Claxton, with Cayla Crawley, with Shelby Parker, with Cody White. And to mention some of Cody's accolades, wow, 4 sports, and he excelled in all of them. In 2004, as we mentioned many times tonight, led his team to a 14-0 record and the state 1A championship. Going undefeated is a hard thing to do. Ask any athlete, they'll tell you. He was named the 2004 State 1A Championship Most Outstanding Player. We got a couple of those up here, right? 2004 Smoky Mountain Conference Back of the Year, all Western North Carolina in 2004. This is interesting. Named the 2003 USA Today's Old Spice Red Zone Player of the Year. That's a national award. He was a two-way player, had 86 tackles, 13 for losses, ran for 1,585 yards in his senior seasons, and he had not just one, but two 1,000-yard rushing seasons. Rushed for a career-high 207 yards in one game in 2004. He finished his career as second on the all-time rushing list with 3,428 yards on 528 carries, 46 touchdowns. All-state and all-Smoky Mountain Conference also in baseball during his senior season, finishing with a batting average over 400 and had 30 RBIs during the senior season in baseball. So, Cody White, we're very proud to have you in our Athletic Hall of Fame, brother. As I mentioned, it's been an honor and a privilege to be on stage with these outstanding athletes, and now I'm going to welcome Coach Blankenship, if we would come up and have a final word here. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for your support of Swain County High School.
Okay, a few reminders. After it's over, you can come up and take pictures with everyone. If you want to go up and visit the Hall of Fame, if you're not going to be able to come back for the game, it is open. Okay, so you can go up and see their display that they put together for them. And then tomorrow, we'll introduce you at the ball game at halftime. If any of y'all need tickets, I have some. So just see me and I'll give you the tickets that you need. First of all, you 5, congratulations on your induction to the 2017 class. I guess this means I'm getting old because 3 of these I coached. So that's probably a first for me. But congratulations to this class. Thank you, board, for all your hard work. Steve Claxton and Robert White for your vision. What we have up here is very special. You wouldn't believe the phone calls that I get about coming by and opening it up from visitors from out of town, people that come up to see this place. It was voted one of the top 10 stadium sites in North Carolina. A lot of that has to do with the Hall of Fame because there's nobody that has a Hall of Fame at their stadium. So it was voted North Carolina as the top stadiums in North Carolina. So at this time, we'll close with singing a school song. If you'll please stand. Swain high, Swain high, ever praise the wilderness, and we have a feeling we can never express. Thou art majestic, Swain high, 'neath the Carolina blue. We salute thee, Swain high, and to thee will ever be true. With colors of maroon and white, with standards always for the right, we hail the alma mater and sing praises that are due.